Hi, Kurt Kelly, here with Nurturing Wellbeing. On this episode, we have a good friend of ours that has been very active in child well-being for years, and that's Reverend Al Williams of One Church, One Child. They have a major influence across the entire state of Florida, and I think you're really going to enjoy hearing the conversation we have about how we go out and reach different communities as we try to nurture well-being. Well, today I'm with a man that probably doesn't need any introductions if you're in the North Florida area, maybe anywhere across the state of Florida, Reverend Al Williams. He is the Deputy Director of One Church, One Child. That's been around for a while, that has worked particularly in certain populations with the state of Florida, has done a great job. And I'm so glad to have you in here. I see you at our conferences a lot, and thank you for always being really active. I want to start that we're involved in a field that a lot of times people put this awe factor into. Oh, it's nice you do that. But actually, when they see it, it's so necessary. It shows the real compassion of a community and of a state that believes in taking care of its most vulnerable, particularly our children that really shouldn't be in our system. But we have to try to go out there and do the best when they do come in our system and help them. And I know that One Church, One Child has been a major player in that for years. Tell us a little bit about One Church, One Child. And maybe you can give a little history, say whatever you want to do. But bottom line is just talk a little bit about some of the good things that you've been able to do over the years.
Well, One Church, One Child is my heart. I started out as a volunteer many years ago, and now I'm working for the agency, which is a great thing. And I get paid to do the work.
Isn't that nice?
But it is a special organization when it comes to children that are in care and who have no home. So our mission is to make sure that we find homes and families in the community that can support and nurture those children. Even if they age out, we want to make sure that there's somebody's there for them. And so that's how we start out. You
know, you use the word nurture. This is what this show is about, nurturing well-being. So we're not just looking to give kids a list of place to stay when they got themselves in a situation where the Department of Children and Families has to remove them, and then we give them 3 hots and a cot. Mm-hmm. We want to nurture them. We want to love on them and care for them. And the way that we do that is to bring the right type of families to take them. And that's a big challenge, is to go out there and recruit those. Tell us a little bit about, we actually saw some of the work that you were doing. You took the new federal holiday, Juneteenth, and you took an opportunity to reach out in your community and to use this as a platform to be able to recruit some good foster families. Tell us a little bit about that.
We were talking to the director of the Juneteenth program, and he said, well, I'd love to have One Church, One Child come out. So we went out and, want to see, can we change our recruitment efforts, so we thought about, the jump rope, and everybody can jump rope.
No, brother. No, not everybody.
Well, I found it out Saturday too. Even I thought kids could jump rope.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Let's go with kids.
They were struggling, some of them, but that effort allowed us to meet a lot of potential families that were coming through the event. And I was amazed at the number of children that came through and say, I've heard about this program. And then the adults was right there. So yeah, my friend adopted out of that program. So it showed that we have been affected over the years. But that Saturday, we had, I think it was about maybe 35 kids that I ended up taping. And I was kind of wanted to make sure I had it all in there for some history. But it was very, very unique. I had a great grandmother, had a grandmother there, had a whole family, uncles, and not everybody was just there. And they end up challenging each other. But the whole point was, again, to bring about awareness and try to make sure that our kids have at least an outlet, that somebody's there waiting for them to make sure that they are not forgotten. And so that it was very successful. And over the years, we had like our tennis tournament, the Perfect Match, and it would have been our 10th year. In 2020, but the pandemic came and that kind of set things back. But we had players from all over, just all over the country would come to Tallahassee to play in this event. But mainly it was supporting our kids and raising awareness But a good thing is that we just want to make sure our kids have an opportunity to find families for them, and then make sure that the families are there, and they're good families. We just don't want any family. We got to make sure that the family, they're loving, nurturing, God-fearing most of all. We figure if you love God, you can, love children in spite of sometimes they give you a hard time. But it's great to know that we have the faith community all across the state really supporting our efforts. Businesses alike, individuals. So we're open to anybody who wants to come in and support a child in care.
Reverend Al, I was with a gentleman down in South Florida. Gosh, I guess it was right around Christmas time, and we were doing a program down there, and I interviewed him, and he ran a big church in the Black community. As I was talking with him, you just watched his eyes. They just started sort of beaming about the work that they try to do and so forth. I think that's the one thing that one church, one child has had a lot of success in, is that you're able to walk into a particular community and be able to give people an opportunity to find a way to demonstrate God's love and to be able to show that compassion and love to folks. Now, how long One Church, One Child has been around for?
30 years, actually.
Is that right? Okay.
And remember, before privatizations, we had offices in every region, and we were so effective in recruiting. We did the training with the home placement, everything. So we want to get back to that. That is the thing that we want to get back. Now we have office in Tampa, Jacksonville, and Tallahassee, and West Palm Beach. But we want to be able to have our offices back in every region. That way we can be effective all across the state and ensure that we don't have kids left in certain areas with no one to really help recruit for them. So we're pushing, and hopefully the legislators will come back to their senses and say, look, we need all the help we can get to move these kids into a permanent home. So that's our goal. Do you also work heavily into the adoption world, trying to help with the adoptions? Absolutely. Our main goal is to find adoptive parents for our kids, because we know most of the foster parents eventually adopt anyway, So we are pushing to make sure adoption is the first issue that we address with families. And some will say, well, I'm not ready to adopt now, but I'll foster. And as time progresses, they end up adopting anyway. So adoption is the really key to make sure our kids have a permanent home and not being moved from place to place to place, or from home to home. Because some kids tell us that they've been like 6, 7, 8 homes and never been adopted. And I had one event I put over, and I think it was in Central Florida area. This one kid had been in 56 homes. And at that particular prayer breakfast, he ended up getting adopted by a pastor that day, which it really just, everybody was just crying, he was happy just to see that, to know that a kid has been around in 56 homes is ridiculous. So we got to do a better job of making sure that we find nurturing homes for these kids early on. We don't want them to age out. We want them to find a home. I agree. And I got to tell you, during the National Adoption Month, when we have this month, usually all across the state, they'll have these events. And if you're not one that's able to cry, you need to come on these events. Oh yeah, because you're going to see lives changed. What's interesting is I'm concerned that there's such a division in America today now, absolutely. And it's stupid. Yeah. Quite frankly, we're Americans, and we ought to love one another. When you come to these events, you see that. Yeah. That black, white, Hispanic, right. It doesn't matter. Everybody's coming in, and they're just and they're saying, we're going to bring these folks into our home, these children, teenagers. It's pretty exciting to see these events, to be able to have you get involved in this. One other area that I'd like to talk about, it's not just about fostering, and it's not just about adoption, but it's also about trying to keep kids from coming into care. Brother, if we ever have to grab hold of something, that's the area we have got to get into now, and is to try to move upstream before DCF has to say, I've got to remove them. Because once you remove them, they're traumatized. Right, I don't care what. Right. Sometimes they have to remove them. Yeah. But I think that's an area that I would love to see One Church, One Child do as well, particularly getting the churches
engaged into that work.
Well, you hit on a very good point there, because we know that church ministries offer from the children up to couples, singles, everybody, all the churches have different ministries. So the goal is to let the pastor know that ministry may be just for children, but it prevents the kids from coming in, because now they've connected to other kids. They've connected to other families that are in that church and who's willing to support a family that they know they're struggling. So our goal, what we do now, is try to find a family, help them to be reunified with their kids. But then we know that the church also have seniors in there that can help that mother learn how to cook, or to help her, take care of home better, So those ministries are available. And all we got to do is connect the family with the church and prevent them from going into care.
We're going to do that, brother, because I'll tell you, that becomes the key. First of all, just from a business sense, okay, just from a former legislator, and I would look at it as a business sense, it's cost effective to do that.
Very much.
Put that aside. That's not why we do it. We do it because it's the right thing for one of our citizens to go in there and to get the church or get the community to go into those families. And you're right, help them. Maybe she's just so stressed out, she's so stressed out because she's had to work 2 jobs. She don't have time to take care of the kids.
Right.
Well, that's a responsibility. But the church can come in and help, or the community can come in and help. And I think there's a real opportunity for us.
Well, I recall being a kid that my summers were spent at summer camp there at the church. The church had summer camps. We would go to the Vacation Bible School. We would hit like every church. We'd be on the circuit. Okay, we know they're first week of June, Mount Olive's the second week. So by the time the summer is over, we've been in camp all summer long, and our parents didn't have to worry about it. They knew we were in a safe place. They knew that we had a meal. By the time we came home, we just, we were good. So that's where the church have to step up and put those programs back in place to help prevent families from coming into care. And once I found that the pastors understand what we're trying to do, they come right on board. I was speaking with a pastor today down in Hollywood, and he said, well, my church is looking for something to do, but we don't know how to do it. And he said, well, I know it's a God thing because you called me. I said, oh, you're right. I said, so God works in mysterious ways, and he makes sure that if we find a family that's struggling, we got a church now to help them. And we also have that child now have some covering. We have to make sure our kids are covered, because once they get out there, it's very hard to support a child when they're out in gangs or they're just hanging out in the streets. And next thing you know, they're caught up in jail. They're in jail, or they're dead, or what? Human trafficking is another big problem we find a lot of our kids are getting caught up in. So the church has an opportunity now to really step up and show prevention, intervention with those families that are struggling now. And especially since the pandemic, a lot of families have had to place their children in care because they couldn't take care of them for whatever reason. Parents lost their jobs. There was death in some families where grandmothers had been caring for these kids, and now there's no one. So we got to really make sure that these kids are exposed to other opportunities to find some care, and the church, again, that's the saving grace, but the pastors got to come on board. They got to be willing to understand that this is work. This is God's work.
So, I've pastored a church or two.
Absolutely.
Been around, right. And one of the things that I know is that that's hard work no matter what you do.
Yeah.
But if we could give our pastors a real vision of what it means to bring their congregation. First of all, I always thought, what a great thing for my congregation to be able to go in and do this, because now they're doing the work. They're doing the work of the Lord. They're demonstrating that love they say they have.
Right. And
it keeps them doing all that fussing and fighting and stuff. But as a pastor, you can say that. Right. But actually, it also is just a great opportunity for the church to get involved in the community. And we use the word church here, but actually with community groups, all kind of them, right. Synagogues, mosques, all of them can get involved. And we have a process in which we're going to utilize. I know the First Lady got very involved with us with the Faith Initiative, and she tried to help do some recruitment so forth that way. And they worked with the department and worked with us. But I think you got the feet on the street,
right?
And that's kind of what we need.
And see, you hit something right on the point that the department really needs to understand that one church, one child is really critical, especially in the Black community. So if we don't have anyone from our agency reaching out to those pastors, then they're just pretty much doing their regular business, so we can get them to be aware of what the situation, and you look at the problem with minority children, it's a totally disproportionality of
There's no question.
There's
no question.
We're 16% of the population, then we're making up 58% or so of kids in care, then this system is not working. Either we're going to have to, again, come back and just revamp the system and to make sure that, again, agencies like One Church, One Child are out there on the ground, and we need feet on the ground in every area, and until we do that, our kids are going to still continue to come into the system.
At our leadership conference, are you coming to it?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah,
I hope you're going to be involved in the racial disparity one.
That's the main one I want to be.
Good,
yes,
because we're going to talk about that. And a lot of this is legislative and policy driven, that we are implementing to do certain things. And then you have the CPIs that are making decisions based upon legislation and policy. And it's driving behaviors that I don't think were intended, but I think so. So we're going to try to be thought leaders in this area, and we definitely need your help, Ari's help, and others. But I can tell you, at the end of the day, I agree with you that when you know how to speak church, and you can go and talk to pastors, they'll hear you.
Yeah,
and they know how to then get their congregations involved.
And one point you also hit that I like about with the CPIs. We have to make sure that they're, cultural competency with
That's right.
involved.
Have an understanding.
Yeah, understand just because you may open the refrigerator and say, well, I want to see milk and maybe some bread and some meat, but you don't realize that the neighbors down the street or the grandmother around the corner is also providing for their kids. Mom may have to work 2 jobs, but it takes everybody. The village is true. It takes the entire village, not just, the school itself, or not just the church, but it takes everybody to come together and making sure these children are safe, making sure that they are provided and have a future, a promising future, and then they can come back and be contributing citizens to our community.
I just want to tell you, we have a promising future.
Yeah,
I'm not going to let the naysayers say we're falling apart. We can come together, and we should. And I think, it's funny, I was talking to a group of men about this, and I said, and we were talking about how difficult things were right now in America, all the divide and the hatred, the foolishness. And my response was, then there's a perfect opportunity for us to go out there and show and demonstrate love. And there's no greater love than to be able to go into a community and be able to show a family how to be reunited and can care for one another. Brother, you are fantastic. I appreciate you. I appreciate your work. And we're here to work with you side by side. Thank you for all you're doing. And we look forward to coming up with some of these solutions here this coming year. All
right. We look forward to working with you guys and continue to do what you do.
Thank you. God bless you, brother.
God bless you. Amen.
I want to thank Reverend Al Williams at One Church, One Child for the great work they do. Listen, if you want to reach out and work with them across the state, we're more than happy to connect you with that. All you have to do is reach out to the Florida Coalition for Children. We're to continue to do great things here in Florida as we nurture well-being.